Say, kids, what time is it?
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming.
Hey, folks, welcome. We're coming on to you from Boulder Creek, California today. And unusual for us, we have a house full of people.
Yes, in our secret hideout in the top of the hill on Future Peak.
That's right.
We've had our media tribe descend upon us.
Fortress of Solitude
Or
here.
ascend upon us, I guess.
We're in for some fun now.
Wow. How many?
Well,
right?
just
As
a
well
little
as you,
preview.
of course, Bobby. That's Bobby Wilder in San Francisco.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bobby, we'll
and then
let
we have
you know.
Son here and like this, and we have a little bit of news as well, but we can always share the news a little bit later since everyone is here. I think
we should introduce a couple of people just while they're,
since they're here.
Yeah.
Annelise, why don't you come in and sit between us here for starters, and if you two guys can share this microphone.
Okay. And if you're going to stay, you might want to pull over another chair. We'll give you a spot for that. Okay.
Meanwhile, the news is that we're on the moon. Blue Ghost Moonlander has aced a historic lunar landing. It's on there now. We're going to get some pictures coming in. Keep an eye open for that. Meanwhile, there's the Athena Moonlander, which is in orbit now, another private company putting out a moonlander, and it's entering the lunar orbit now, and it'll be touching down on March the 6th. Also in the news is that Austin is now going to have driverless Uber rides in case you want to take an automatic car and you live in Austin. You're one of our Austin listeners. It's going to be available to you very, very shortly. In the quantum computer universe, Microsoft has a new topological qubit claim that's supposed to be the first topological qubit, which is a major development in quantum computers.
Hey, I promise we'll get back to it.
Yeah, but we'll get back to the stuff later. Yes. Yeah. But I just wanted to mention all these things because we might not get back to them until next week.
Yeah, our guests are awfully fascinating people.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, keep going. Read the headlines.
I'm just doing the headlines.
Yeah.
Also, there's some breakthroughs in reviving ancient mammoths. Scientists have created woolly mice. Revolving extinction.
Doesn't that sound cute and scary at the same time?
And Bobby has a big scientific article on how your gut microbes can affect your longevity. Our microbes have a lot to do with how we age, go figure, that sort of thing. So those are little stories we'll get into as the show progresses. Meanwhile, let me introduce our guest to you. Oh, my goodness.
Say hello.
Yeah, we have our media people, and we'll bring in our author after we introduce a part of our media tribe. We have Catherine Miller and Rifat. Both of them are visiting from Buffalo. They've been doing a TV series there called Passionate Living for years.
Yes, which we've been involved with since the 90s,
yes,
right?
You have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Kat. Welcome you guys to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of you can wear the headphone and listen in one ear.
To make sure it sounds good.
A little bit technical.
So now you
that's
see.
the nature of home podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is national, and now we're in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean and Guam, and it keeps growing.
Oh.
It's like
People love passionate living everywhere, right?
hopefully.
And we're going to start season 6 soon.
Season 6 in Buffalo, huh?
Well, everywhere. We're out here
Everywhere, huh?
filming, and the show is from everywhere, but one of the stations it's aired on.
Can you give it a feeling for the breadth and scope of...
Rifat just pushed my head back in the mic.
He's going to keep you in the mic.
Heck, you know how boys are so technically inclined. It's like, I'm just going to push you where you need to be. I don't need to talk.
He's my soul son. Like, I'll be struggling with something on the phone, and he'll just grab it and go, get this to me.
Well, I want people to hear your beautiful voice.
That's true. Well-intentioned and well-informed.
So tell us, I mean, when we first met you, Kat, I guess it was the last century, right?
That's right.
99.
90s. Scott Kidd Thomas introduced us.
Oh, my God. It probably was 98, 99, somewhere.
Yeah. I remember the Holistic Health magazine that you were publishing. And
Yes,
our very
Holistic
first
Health
encounter
Journal, yeah.
was...
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and we were helping
helped
you with
me
the
with a
magazine.
couple of those
even
magazines,
before you were
son.
doing the Passionate Living promo early shows.
And then you guys were actually there, and I don't know if you remember this, in the very first mastermind when we were coming up with a name. And we came up with Passionate Living. So you helped to come up with that name.
Yes, we like being part of your brainstorm.
Yeah.
I love being part of your brain. God.
Well, you've been part of a few brainstorms over there. I think we were talking earlier about how you were involved with the feature film When Dreams May Come.
Oh, What Dreams May Come. My ex-fiance made that film. He was a producer, and it was an amazing film.
Now, what was your input into it?
I got to actually have a lot of input in that film because Stephen listened. He was a really great listener and really valued, at that time anyhow, valued my opinion.
I would have voted for that film as best film of the year. It was so beautiful. It was so tender-hearted.
They won an Academy
inspiring.
Award for special effects.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think you were saying earlier that if you hadn't had your input, it would have been a much darker film.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to take any
Credit
for that, but I did. I said the film didn't breathe. We need to add some light back into it, and Stephen did. They added a lot more of the scenes that had been removed. That I think the first cut was the director's cut.
Wow.
A lot darker.
Did you meet Robin Williams?
I did. What a beautiful human being.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he cried twice in the evening. I met him, just talking, having conversation. He was all heart and just one of the most beautiful human beings you could ever imagine. Humble as the day is long, kind.
He listened too.
Innocent, heartfelt, beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was very blessed.
So what are you guys out in the West Coast now for? What's going on? Why are you not in the snows of Buffalo?
We did a segment on a special boat called the Golden Rule, which was responsible for stopping nuclear testing in oceans.
Helped to stop it.
Yeah. It wasn't fully
wow.
responsible, but it started a huge movement.
I
And
cannot wait to see this episode. When will this be airing?
it did air last season, and they decided to play our episode in their film festival, and they invited us over to Eureka.
Wow.
It was an amazing opportunity, and seeing so many of these community members feeling impacted by our story of our segment. And we also got to see the world premiere of their actual documentary of the whole thing. We had the opportunity to speak for our show over there. I was kind of trembling inside, but I think we did pretty well.
You did very well. You couldn't have told you really well. You did wonderful.
Give us just a minute of inspiration from your creation there. Like nuclear war, obviously everyone is so on edge right now. And tell us just a little of your film's contribution to understanding and peace.
Yeah. Firstly, I'd like to say that every day we get amazing stories to film, just like the Peace Boat. But once a story like this amazing Peace Boat comes in, me and Kat, we just go all on board and take it to the next level. And that's what took this story to an impactful level. And once the story is already amazing like that, it's truly easy for us to push ourselves and understand the story better. And I think I was done with high school, and it was my first year in college, and little did I know so much about the effects of nuclear testing. I wasn't taught anything about that. I just know about Hiroshima, that's it. And getting only through this story, only through this Golden Rule boat, I was able to know, oh my God, just testing of these bombs affected millions and millions of people, generations.
Wow.
And I think we, with our media skills and our show, and Kat with her amazing storytelling and hosting skills, we did an amazing job in informing a lot of more people about it, including myself.
Beautiful. Wow.
Well, congratulations, you guys.
Thanks. Well, it's what you guys do here. I mean, it's what I love so much. I listen to this podcast all the time because I know that my thumb will be on the pulse of every cutting edge, everything going on in the world of technology, of longevity, of health, of life. What an extraordinary service you do of just informing people. It's remarkable.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of fun doing it, and we just naturally like new stuff.
I know you do. That's why I love coming up to Future Peak. I like peeking into Future Peak because there's always something cool. I describe you as my favorite aliens, and walking in the house is like walking into the bridge of the SS Enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
I see why now.
When you see my new telescope with UFO mode. I love it. For real. It really does.
Of course it does. I would expect nothing less from you guys.
By popular demand.
I would expect nothing less.
Yeah, it's the future. It's citizen science because a lot of big science is being decentralized now. And the tools are getting so powerful that we can all have amazing tools in our homes. And then we network them, and we have these great sensors all over the planet that let us know how it's doing and how we're doing. And it's leading to something beautiful.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And we're getting to go to the Natural Products Expo. We're heading down there tonight to Anaheim. That's why we're making a quick little cameo here. And I love going there every year because we film, but we get to put our thumb on the pulse of all the cutting edge stuff in that world, which is
What's it called again?
The Natural Products Expo West.
Natural Products.
Right. Did you go last year?
I go every year. I love that
So
show.
I just to give people a flavor, what was your one favorite takeaway from last year?
Clothes, facials?
Oh, God, there were these gluten-free pizzas and everything. When I started gluten-free, because I had to, there was nothing gluten-free. It was like a salad. And so now there's so much out there, but this one pizza, oh my God, and I can't think of the name. We're going to have to look on our show to find the name, but there's this Italian father and son from Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
And their French-Canadian accents. They just, oh my God, this was to die for pizza. It was just amazing. So when I find things like that, I love it. It's like these little jewels in the show. One year I found caviar that was plant-based caviar, and you couldn't tell the difference between real caviar and the plant-based caviar.
Wow.
It was the hit of the show.
Plant eggs.
Yeah, it was
Seeds?
remarkable.
Like seeds as eggs?
No, they literally tasted like caviar.
Wow.
I don't know what they did,
Wow.
but
And
it was amazing.
They had a hypnotist at the booth?
And last year, that mushrooms was all the rage, of course, and Paul Steen was, all those people were there, and
and the
every year we
microdosing
get
movement,
trends.
yeah. Uh-huh.
You see the trends. Everything was mushroom last year. Lion's mane was in everything. Mushrooms were in
Right.
it.
We forgot about the fungi.
Yeah, the fun guy.
One common thing that we noticed through these amazing products is that it all came out of a necessity of solving a problem. And then they made a product out of that. And then they find their own tribe of people who have similar issues. And then they solve it through that. And then it becomes a huge product.
Oh.
And so we just don't go there to review products. We just go there to capture the stories of how they came to making that business by solving that issue.
Oh, so it's really a very social climate for health, future-minded entrepreneurs.
Right, as long as it isn't one of the big corporations that's just out there to make money. But, there are a lot of people there at the show that, like Rifat said, just started out of necessity, and it's amazing.
Do they have the resources now, if you're a small company making cool products like that, to get it distributed? Or do you still have to go through Amazon?
Well, these shows are largely for distribution. Like, all these people have their booths because they're trying to raise their distribution. So all the distributors are there. All of the vendors from all the stores
So there are
and
options
co-ops
now
and
for
everything
small
around
vendors.
the country and the
Awesome.
world are there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a good
Yeah.
place if you're trying to sell something.
Yeah, exactly.
And does Anaheim have a very nice auditorium for this? I mean, what?
It's the whole convention center. They have other buildings now because it's grown so big that they need 2 other buildings to put booths in. And it's like nothing you could ever imagine. It's like a little mini city for the show.
Disneyland of Whole Foods, of health foods.
Yeah, exactly. Health products, because they have skincare, health foods, supply side on the one side where they, people that are looking for packaging or ingredients. So it's like everything. It's huge.
Nice.
So if folks want to reach you guys, what's the best?
Give us some links. Give us some dates to check out. People
Track
tuning
your-
into the podcast
thanks,
can
guys.
click
Like,
through.
are you on X?
We're on YouTube. We're
On YouTube, okay.
Passionate Living TV on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Passionate Living, and Cat Miller, Cat with a C.
Yeah,
Our
we have it.
website's passionateliving.com.
Instagram, passionate.living. TikTok is cat.miller and Passionate Living as well. But mainly visit our YouTube channel, Passionate Living TV. And if you want to reach out to us, there's our website, passionateliving.com. And we're always looking for amazing stories to cover. So if you have a story that you think should be on Passionate Living, please reach out to us.
Now you know why I put them in front of the camera so much, not just behind.
You guys tracking all this AI stuff too?
I try to, especially I try to use AI in school a lot to help me do my homeworks, but also
Makes you more protective, right?
it does. It was interesting because when AI was coming out, firstly, I took the advantage of it before college caught up to it. Now college has all these AI checkers and everything else, and a lot of my friends are struggling. But now I'm on my last semester. I'm like, I rode the wave.
Like in South Park episode, right?
But other than that, I do use it a lot for brainstorming ideas. It's so great to just get you that first page, those first 10, 15 words for any stories, any scripting, and it'll just propel you forward to your stories getting done.
Well, Rifat and I have been spending about 20 hours in the car in the last 3 days, and I've been using Grok a lot. So it's Alan's fault.
Grok, yeah.
It's Alan's fault. He got me into Grok.
Yeah.
It's his fault.
No, Grok is amazing because Grok is totally like updated until this date, like March 4th.
It's the only AI that really incorporates the new information. Hey, that's Bobby, by the way.
And yet it incorporates the new information from...
Grok,
I was going to say from X. It's a little weak on going to URLs or things like that. But if you're in X, it knows a lot.
Yeah, it's real weak on URLs, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, we tried to use the URL feature on the way over here.
Yeah.
And what I had to do is download the PDF and then share the information. So that's one way around it.
Right. I think it's a little limited on the web in terms of updates, but it seems to have some news. It has a news feeds that are coming into it. So anyway, we'll explore that and keep you posted on that. It's an evolving story. The latest thing is multiple personalities. It's got like sub-personalities.
You finally match with all of us.
Yeah,
That's right. We like auditioning the AIs for co-hosts on our show. You know, we give them a chance and see how they come across.
Yeah.
We named a couple of them Larry and Mary that started out the year with us.
Those are the Google AIs, but the Grok ones are just coming online. We're going to try to give you an example today.
Wait, these are actual like audio AIs? Like they talk?
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, in real time.
I have to check out this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or any episode since
The last
January.
episode we were... you fell asleep.
So
I
I
was
can bring
listening
her
to
on.
you guys in the car, but Rifat fell asleep. He was tired. But I was hearing some of your personalities on the last show.
That's right. Let me see if I can pull one up for you.
Hey there. I'm your friendly AI assistant, here to help you tackle whatever's on your plate. I'm all about making things easier, whether it's answering questions, solving problems, or getting stuff done. I've got a knack for keeping things chill and conversational, so feel free to chat with me like you would a buddy. What's on your mind?
Grok can go on, but you get the idea.
This is
Bluetooth
such a
channel.
crowd today. Like it's
I
a
know.
real fun day. Like lots of worlds colliding, you know.
We haven't heard from Annelise even yet. She's
I
got,
know.
like,
We
so
haven't
much
even
magic.
introduced Annelise. She's our guest,
patiently
a host
waiting.
we're going to be talking about her new book, which is her second book. And I have loved both of her books, her first one and her second one. And Annelise Schinzinger is our neighbor here in Boulder Creek and a really talented storyteller. And with a lot of beautiful, wise life experience, and she shares it incredibly.
You began your latest book, which is all about the magic of ayahuasca. It's called Ayahuasca Opening to the Mysteries. It's about how you went to Brazil. I believe it was in the 70s the first time. You were a model in Brazil, and while you were a model, you had learned about a mysterious tea, and it got you involved with a group called UDV, which was a spiritual group with origins from within the Amazon and the Inca tradition.
Yeah, you had quite an interesting life as a runway model in Brazil.
Yeah.
You did.
I can't wait to read the book. This meeting for a few minutes, I can already tell she's a remarkable woman with an amazing history.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so happy to be here, and such a pleasure. You, Kat, and your soul son.
Thank you. It's so great to meet you too. God, I just fell in love. Yeah, but that doesn't surprise me. Ellen and Son, being the lights that they are, attract these gorgeous lights.
They do indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have another interesting piece to the puzzle here with the ayahuasca and its role in the future as we head into a new world of AIs and robots and but deeper human relations too. I think that's some of the things that the technologists leave out is understanding how important our connections are with each other as all of this unfolds.
Yeah, it's not just a how-to, it's a kind of a why-to and a when-to, and if you really need to know, it answers lots of questions.
Like, for example, I think, Annelise, you're saying that ayahuasca taught you about the power of intention, about prayer, how you were healed from an eating disorder, trauma from rape, on and on. It just seems to have multi-purposes.
And also just connecting with nature, how important it is to really be cognizant of life on Earth and how much it helps that.
Yeah.
One of the most important lessons that I've applied to my life is the importance of listening. You mentioned that Robin Williams was a really good listener. I would say that from the very beginning, when I was 21, in 1977, when I drank ayahuasca for the first time, that my ability to listen more deeply with all of my senses, and especially with my heart, and really pay attention to the guidance given, and understand that it was given for a reason, and to follow it, to trust it. So that's like a foundation. I learned, I might have a little gravelly voice here.
So I just want to say that this is just a little taste, and we're going to be going to a
we'll
break.
be coming back in more detail, but we can say goodbye to our friends from Buffalo.
Yeah, we're going to escape.
You're going to shuffle off?
Yeah.
We're going to shuffle off to Buffalo.
This has been an amazing opportunity for me to be involved in this amazing podcast. And I hope everyone listening has an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rifat.
And happy Ramadan, Rifat.
Oh, thank you.
We loved being on Passionate Living when we were visiting you guys, and we're really delighted that you stopped in here.
Well, you will be again because we got a little video while we were here, so you'll be appearing on the show again. You too, Annelise.
Yeah, I look forward to that. And some calls about synergy with some of the people you know and we know.
Yeah.
Get the right people together. Magic happens.
That's
Little
right.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, you guys, safe journey.
Until
I love you guys so much.
have
Love you too.
a great future now, you
Lots.
guys. We
Very
love
nice.
you. I think you
Bye
have to
for
go
now.
back. Okay, and that's
And reassign that channel.
yes. It takes great mastery to do today's show with all of these inputs.
Yes.
And-
It's kind of like musical chairs. We have more inputs than we have chairs.
But are you ready for a little word from the wise? In Santa Cruz, we have the Santa Cruz Voice sponsors.
And we'll be right back with Annelise Schinzinger on ayahuasca.
Deer fins, wood fins, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fins, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
I'm Kevin Donovan, the owner of Cypress Coast Fence, Monterey Bay Area's premier fence company.
And I'm Katie Donovan, Kevin's sister. I'm one of the project coordinators. I'll help you choose the best fence for your needs, and I'll be with you for every step of the project.
We work with local suppliers and employ quality craftsmen to build the right fence to secure, protect, or privatize your property. We've been in business for 15 years and have been voted best fence company for 7 years running.
Give us a call for your no-obligation consultation at 831-783-1500 or at cypresscoastfence.com.
We don't just build fences, we make good neighbors.
Deer fins, wood fins, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fins, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
Get hooked up with affordable cannabis at your locally owned Hook Outlet, where everybody above the age of 21 can participate in the Hook's loyalty program. Each purchase earns you 2% store credit on your next purchase. Get hooked up with the best cannabis at affordable prices at the Hook Outlet in Capitola and Watsonville, or order online at hookoutlet.com. Get hooked up at the Hook.
Get ready to help build one of America's first local news and talk streaming radio stations. SantaCruzVoice.com. How do you do it? By donating either your time, money, or both. You'll be helping the Voice team construct a powerful infrastructure, one that we can all be proud of. To donate your time, your money, or both, go to SantaCruzVoice.com and click support. SantaCruzVoice.com and click support.
That I adjusted out of the other one, but can't use that because okay, I'm gonna.
It's got an echo delay.
No.
Yeah, welcome back.
We are getting ready here. We're trying to do a quick mic change.
Yeah.
So just a second here.
Hello.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Isn't that way
I
better?
heard that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So,
we've got Bobby checked in.
Bobby,
and
you gonna say hi? Make sure we have
Yeah,
you.
I'm here.
Okay, we
So
gotta get your
loud.
levels right. Okay,
Yeah.
we are back.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
There she is.
I mean, I know that I'm an invisible superpower woman, but I like to be in this shot
yes,
for our live
okay.
show.
Right. We're talking to Annelise about her new book, Ayahuasca, Opening to the Mysteries. Now, can you ask you like how many times have you done ayahuasca?
Oh, 20 years.
Over 20
Lifestyle. It's
20
been
years?
part of her
20
life
years.
So it's
since
like-
she was a young thing.
I was introduced to ayahuasca. I was a student in Brazil. I went to Brazil originally to study when I was 20. And then at a time, I was at a juncture in my life.
Yeah.
I needed to make a decision whether to stay in Brazil. And I had started working as a model at that point. That's totally true.
You had a choice.
I
It was
would-
an inflection point in your life where you could have gone in two directions. Like, what were the choices?
I was near completion of my 1 year junior year abroad through the University of California. And I had met a Brazilian, had fallen in love. And I needed to decide whether to return to California to finish my studies or allow the relationship to flower.
So you had a choice of either going back to school in the States or staying there with a new love.
Yes. And at that point, it was a very important decision in my life. And
Sure,
I was
yeah.
dealing with conflicts. I was raised by Quaker parents
Quaker.
who are academics. And
Really? They must
didn't-
love this.
And I actually didn't tell them at the time that I was working as a high fashion model.
Oh, okay.
That came later, that story
Yeah.
with them. So there were conflicts because it wasn't the way I was raised.
Yeah.
And so I was introduced to ayahuasca at this point in time when I needed to make the critical decision which was life-changing, right? I drank ayahuasca and I decided to stay in Brazil.
Was it someone that you trusted to introduce you to ayahuasca the first time? How did it come about?
Yes, I had been invited to spend some time at the home of a former top model. She was the one who introduced me to the modeling world in Sao Paulo.
Somebody in the modeling world, then.
Yeah,
your
she had been a very successful high fashion model.
Wow.
She invited me to live with her husband, and her daughter.
So you it's a pretty close relationship already.
That was a really close relationship. And then I met her stepson, who had just returned from 6 months with Krishnamurti in Switzerland.
Oh.
And so he is the one who told me about a tea that would be good for me. Those were his words. I didn't know anything about the tea, didn't even tell me the name, but I wouldn't have heard of it.
Well, it was really
either.
not publicly
In the
known
70s,
very
I
much
guess.
back then, right? It was the very
Yeah,
early discovery.
1977 in Brazil. Few people outside of the Amazon knew what ayahuasca was.
Yeah, I mean, when did Rick Strassman go there? Wasn't he?
Well, the Terrence.
They went in the 70s.
yeah,
the
it was
70s.
really brand new to the Western world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly indigenous communities and two rubber tappers, Irineu Seca, that founded the Santo Daime, and Mestre Gabriel, who founded the União do Vegetal, which is a spiritual group I ended up joining.
So in terms of its history, then it was originally a native tradition that spread out into Brazilian culture a little bit more widely, and then from there into the world.
Correct.
And you were at the point where it was Brazilian. It was part of becoming a larger part of the Brazilian scene.
I was introduced to ayahuasca at the point in time when it was being established south of the Amazon. There were some people in Brasilia who were drinking, but mostly the people who brought ayahuasca to Sao Paulo were Paulistas. They were from Sao Paulo. They were a group of actors. They could be considered hippies in the day.
Oh, yeah.
They went
Hippies
to-
responsible for this?
They went to Manaus. They were introduced to Ayahuasca, which is the name that União do Vegetal uses for ayahuasca.
Okay. What's that again? Ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. Hoasca.
Is that different from ayahuasca at all? Is it?
It's a plant spirit tincture made
so,
from the union of two plants.
So huasca is the spirit of ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca is the name the UDV uses, and ayahuasca is the more globally known term. But each indigenous group has their name for it.
What did the indigenous population initially use it for? What was it?
They used it for divination, to track animals for hunting, to discern where the prey was, and also what other tribes were doing. There was a lot of witchcraft in those days.
So it was
the
part
spells being cast.
Interesting.
But it was used also for healing. Very
uses,
positive uses.
I'm kind of curious, how would it make you a better hunter? Does it allow you to move your consciousness into the animal, or sense it from a distance, or what?
Well, two things. One, it can tell the person who drinks ayahuasca where the animals are.
How's that?
Well, the jungle is vast, and ayahuasca has many, many talents, you could say.
Yeah.
I've been guided on where to find the mariri, the vine in the forest.
Really?
I saw it as a path of light, and this is jumping ahead a bit, but ayahuasca has the ability to shine light on anything.
Anything.
Yeah,
Anything
so if
alive.
the important thing is intention, being really clear with intention. So my intention for drinking ayahuasca has always been going within and learning the truth, healing, spiritual growth. That's why I really resonated with ayahuasca. I realized its potential for healing. And on a physical, spiritual, emotional level.
What kind of healing, may I ask? Is like physical, like diseases that we know, or is it more mental?
Well,
health,
it's each person on their own journey.
So
Some
everyone, whatever
people can
people
see,
need, it tunes into.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If a person is seeking healing, this is a friend told me, she saw exactly where the block was. I had an experience like that also. It removes the energetic. It helps shine light on the energetic blocks or the emotional
Now,
blocks.
there's one thing I'm curious about. You refer it in a couple of different contexts that I'm wondering about. One is as a spirit that you communicate with, and another as a, what do you call it, brocharia or
Brochera.
brochera, yeah. And that was like, it creates a space or a sense of sacredness that in which things happen in.
It's a field of consciousness, a unified field that is ever present. It's here. Ayahuasca helps people quiet their minds and be receptive, to tune in and be receptive to information that is being presented. And that has a lot to do with the person's intention. So I don't recommend using it for recreational purposes, because that would be a waste, and
there are better drugs for recreation.
Better drugs for recreation.
It's not always fun with ayahuasca.
It has such potential.
Yeah.
So to really enter into communication with the plant spirit, which it is.
Yes.
It's like a counselor.
Counselor. I wanted to ask you to describe ayahuasca as a diva, as a being, or as a nature voice. Like, I would love to hear you express kind of your relationship and your sense of that person or being.
Do you treat it like a human, or is it?
Well, I would say
a god.
Ayahuasca is, for me, is first and foremost a spirit that helps guide humans to live a better life, to reconnect with nature. The word religion, which is the word for religion, is to reconnect. So many of us have been distracted, and we go all kinds of ways on the path of life.
Yeah.
And for me, ayahuasca helped me go within, gain a lot of clarity, situations in my life that were problematic, helped me overcome an eating disorder and trauma from sexual abuse and rape. So
No.
the healing potential is huge. And ayahuasca, because over the years I cultivated a relationship with ayahuasca,
Yeah.
I learned to trust her. I refer to her as a her, as a counselor. Someone
is
who-
it a presence? I mean, like for example, you said healing trauma. Now, a lot of in modern therapy, a good therapist will take you back to the trauma moment and relive it and then reframe it, so that it's,
I definitely, what I
and
experienced was a purging.
does it take you there, or does it take you back to the trauma where you relive it, or anything like that, or is it there as a kind being that helps you, like a good therapist, to take you
I
through?
think it's really tailor-made for the person.
So each person gets the kind of sub-persona that works for them then, huh?
Right. When I had an experience that was a purging of numerous sexual assaults,
Yeah.
I just had a flash of each one. It took me back just through that flash. I didn't need to relive in depth.
Wow.
But
Just
it was a flash. It was a memory. It brought it to the surface and I purged.
like a couple seconds.
Yeah. It was the imprint that it had had on my psyche, on my physical body. And the memory of it was just purged instantaneously because I was in that expanded state of consciousness, and it was able to encapsulate it and just get it out of my system. It took years for me to get to that place.
Wow.
To really be open and ready for that degree of healing and trust of ayahuasca.
So you had to build your trust with the ayahuasca spirit before it
Well,
was
it's
healing?
so interesting because my personal history involved trusting because of substances. Ayahuasca is a substance. It's a tea. It's called vegetal. The first time I had some alcohol that I got drunk, I was 17. I was in Moscow. I was almost raped, but I was saved in the nick of time.
Near Moscow.
But still
In
very
a fort.
traumatic.
Very traumatic at 17.
Wow.
And since that moment, because I didn't have the ability to resist, I never again got drunk.
That was
in
it
my
for
life.
alcohol?
That was
Really?
it for alcohol because I had lost my ability to defend myself. I couldn't yell. I don't want to, divert too much.
Right.
This-
So it was a really traumatic experience.
very traumatic. The second time was
And it was imprinted. Like
imprinted,
it
deeply
became
imprinted.
part of your identity.
Until you
Right.
somehow can unimprint it? Does
Well, I
ayahuasca
got
help with that?
there. It took a while.
Really?
This I just shoved it into the
Until you,
depths of
the
my
depths
memory
your
because I
memory, yeah.
couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, sure.
And then the second time I was working as a model, I hired a British photographer to do my portfolio. And that photo shoot ended up in a rape.
With
What
the
happened
photographer?
is, I was
someone you're supposed to be
An
trusting.
entrapment.
Oh,
I'm
once again.
really
Yeah.
comfortable in front of when I'm on a runway,
Yeah.
probably because of my dance experience, ballet, modern dance. I can move on the runway. But having this man looking at me through a really big camera, I wasn't used to that yet. And so he encouraged me to have some cocaine, that it would help me relax. And I
Cocaine
said,
would help
well,
relax,
I don't
huh?
think so. I've heard
see.
about cocaine. Anyway, I was, over the next 15 minutes, I was so embarrassed about not being able to relax in front of the camera. And I had hired him to be as a professional, right?
Right,
So
yes.
anyway, I agreed to take some cocaine. And it ended up putting me in a very metaphysical, because that's how I'm wired, I feel.
Yeah.
I go to the spiritual realms very easily.
Sure. I mean, you were raised on a mission with missionaries.
So what is it?
right?
Well, not missionaries.
So
no,
what are the-
no.
You
don't consider
Quaker,
your-
pacifists.
Oh, pacifists. But
Pacifists.
the fact
So-
that they were Quakers in China doesn't make them missionaries.
They weren't
huh?
Quakers in China.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, they were Quakers in California.
Oh, okay.
So where did the cocoa leaf spirit take you? With
So,
this,
so if it was, that would have been better. I've
the,
I've done that. So anyway, it ended up in rape. So when I was introduced to ayahuasca, shortly after that, I was really wary of men who were giving me ayahuasca. Right? They were in,
anything, men giving you stuff that will alter your
Yeah,
awareness.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
date rape drugs, right? Date rape is such an undiscussed topic in the reality of so many women. And yet here it's really
Oh, it's
wonderful to
abominable.
hear your
Yeah.
story of how common it was.
I guess there's a shame and embarrassment that you got suckered into that and all that sort of thing. And
Oh, I
you don't wanna
didn't
tell
anybody for
Right.
a long time. I was so embarrassed because I felt that I'd gotten myself into this situation.
that you deserved it on some level. And,
Oh, I never thought I deserved it. I was just embarrassed.
oh, okay. Well,
Very
that's-
embarrassed. I didn't even tell my boyfriend. Didn't
Wow.
tell friends, didn't tell my family, nobody.
Wow.
So back to ayahuasca.
Yes.
I am so grateful to have been introduced to a tradition that has a safe container. The ritual itself has boundaries, clear boundaries. And I observed right away that the people who I was invited to participate in ceremonies with, call them sessions, had great respect for the tea itself and for the ritual. And so there were parameters of conduct that were clearly established. And it also served the refinement of this ritual, served as a springboard, like a rocket ship, to be able to go to places in the unified field, other dimensions very easily, or I should say more easily. So the ritual was established, divinely inspired by the founder, with shamadas, with invocations that are like prayer songs to call in more light, more force, and to regulate the experience. So I saw that I was with people who I could trust. They were men. UDV, it's men who are mestres, although Mestre Gabriel made his wife a mestre, gave her the star of mestre.
Yeah.
And the mestres are the masters of the ceremonies. They hold the space and call in the guides, and right?
Right, a mestre is a master, sure. And whoever is in the role of a mestre, whether a woman or a man, in a session is called the mestre because they're the ones who are really channeling the divine information. So that trust was integral to my ability to surrender.
And once you did that, you were able to process all these traumatic events that were holding you back spiritually.
I wouldn't say holding me back spiritually, but definitely had an emotional impact because the healing. So I was introduced to ayahuasca when I was 21, and the healing took place when I was around 33. So it took a while, and it was a certain situation that prompted that. It's in my book. It prompted us just purging one incident after the other.
But you did take them on individually with
They
different...
came up.
They came up.
I didn't have to imagine anything.
So in a sense, the spirit was like the therapist who kind of brought up what you needed to process next.
Yes.
And knew what you needed.
Exactly.
So did you give it
Exactly.
permission to scan you and be able to...
Other times, other sessions, yes.
Uh-huh.
What happened with this one is it was the context, which my book chapter in the book addresses, but it's like the perfect storm. It was a perfect situation that prompted all these memories that were stuffed inside to just unfurl one by one. And it was amazing how in 1 hour I could do so much healing of those experiences. They were, started when I was 12. Nothing in my family, no abuse at all in my family, people I didn't know, just different things that happened over the course of my life when I was traveling, living abroad, numerous things.
I got to ask you, is this your first experience of therapy at all?
No.
You had more normal human therapies before this and after?
Yeah.
And
Yep, I've had my share of therapy.
yeah, okay. How does it compare to a good therapy session?
Well, I'll tell you that the healing of the sexual assaults was so cathartic and so quick and deep that it took care of many different layers, which probably would have taken a long time because I had dealt with certain things with therapists. But it was the healing of, and I'll go into that in a moment, it was the healing of an eating disorder that was the most profound.
Well, I guess as a model, you're supposed to stay thin, right? That was part of
Well, I think the eating disorder preceded being a model.
Really?
It did.
Yeah?
It did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that you've marked certain parts of your book to read to us, and we'll be getting to that in the next hour.
Yeah, I appreciate you retelling, because you talked about the photographer George, the story, and that story is in the book, and so it's neat to hear you recount it live for us. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious as to, after a break, how it unfolded for you, how it exists for you today as well, or does it? It seems like it's gone more out to a global scale, and I'm kind of curious about what you think about all that, how it's spreading.
Yeah.
And will it save us all? Is it a key?
Well, yeah, how accessing our non-traditional states of consciousness is sweeping the planet. And
yeah, so we'll be right back. We're going to go to our break time. And we are back. You're listening to the Future Now show. We're talking to Annelise Schinzinger about her new book on ayahuasca and its mysteries.
Opening to the Mysteries.
Opening to the Mysteries is the official name of the book. It's kind of funny that it's your latest book, and yet it sounds like it's a topic that you explored in the younger part of your life.
I intentionally, well, first of all, I started writing this in 1995.
Yeah.
And when I approached agents or publishers, invariably they would say, this is not fitting for our publishing house, or for my representation, or this book is about drugs. We don't deal with books about drugs.
Oh, yes.
That was the 90s.
Drugs is a big verboten topic for a
90s.
long time, yeah.
Yeah. And so I put a lot of energy into finding a publisher in those days.
Yeah.
And it was actually accepted. Well, I won't go into that story because that's going to diverge too much. Then there came a time when I was asked not to publish it because the case for the legal use of ayahuasca, in the UDV went to the Supreme Court.
Right, so it was up for judgment in the Supreme Court.
Right, and it was a 5-year process. And I was told by the leaders of the UDV that anything I wrote could be twisted by the government in this legal case and interpreted in a derogatory way.
Yeah,
and so
they had a lot of media savvy.
Yeah. Well, they still do that. I mean, they twist, the news twists for whatever direction they...
Well, yeah, but I feel like that trend has been on the rise. And the leadership, they all, I think, embraced dishonesty sometime in the last 30 years. I think we used to have a fairly trustworthy culture in the 70s when you were getting started.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the media. I'm talking about the U.S. government.
Because
it was
the prosecution versus defense
It
model.
went through several appellate courts before getting to the Supreme Court. And I have great respect and appreciation and gratitude for the UDV, for ayahuasca. And I didn't want to do anything to interfere with the process of legalization.
Yeah, you want to make sure they can happen. Did it happen, by the way?
It did, 2006. For the UDV, it was a unanimous Supreme Court decision. This was during Bush Jr.'s presidency. It was a landmark decision. Amazing that it was unanimous on the grounds of religious freedom. So I had held off publishing this book because I wanted to support that effort. And then there was another legal case for 2 years, so I didn't publish. Finally, in 2014, I was given the green light by people in the UDV to publish the book. But at that time, I was working so much as an end-of-life doula, as a caregiver, and my world just revolved around that. And I decided that it was more important, there was more urgency in 2014 for me to finish my book about end-of-life care, an end-of-life guidebook.
Which again, I just cannot endorse enough. I have read it cover to cover. It's called The Art and Science of Caregiving, and it is such a great tool, and it's so full of beautiful stories. It's so heartful, and so the guide, I don't know if you've been keeping it up to date on the Art and Science of Caregiving website, but there's so many forms and questionnaires and URLs to give you ideas of how to approach end of life, legalities, and anticipation. So just a little plug. I know you can still buy it on Amazon, the Art and Science of Caregiving.com.
2019, I think was the publishing. Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great book. I enjoyed that. I love the way you go into case histories, the ones that you actually lived. You know, it was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks.
Where I really got to know you as a storyteller and got a little preview of trying to tell the stories in this book.
So, yeah, how does it link to this? How did ayahuasca help you become a death doula, help people?
That is a very key question. Thank you.
Yeah.
So my second session, and the first session prompted me to want to stay in Brazil. And what I realized that on a superficial level, it was because of a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just realized 2 days ago that it was really to learn about love in the biggest and best sense of the word. I'm so grateful that I stayed in Brazil because of that relationship, but it gave me an opportunity to drink vegetal, to drink the tea, usha, drink ayahuasca. Ayahuasca many times, many times. So the second session was in a natural setting. It was in the woods on the outskirts of Sao Paulo. We were maybe 8 people, very small.
Mm-hmm.
And in that session, I didn't experience much of a buhashira myself. It's the expanded state. I was so focused on the friend, Peter, who told me about the tea that would be good for me. He was there.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he was wrestling inner demons. He was moaning and groaning and writhing on the forest floor. And I was really concerned about him. So I went over and I sat by him. And my inner guidance said, just be here with him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch him. Don't interrupt his experience. Just be here for him.
Wow. So the Spirit was instructing you in a way, but it was instructing you on how to be supportive of your friend.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that laid the foundation for my work later on to be with the dying. When the session ended, sessions are 4 hours, when it ended, Peter thanked everyone present for the support that he had, and he said he had relived his birth. He was going through the birth canal. It was so challenging, so painful for him, but he said it was deeply healing.
Wow.
And that's when I realized the profound ability of ayahuasca, to facilitate going within, reliving traumas, and healing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not just reliving it intellectually, it's actually going through the birth canal.
Re-experiencing.
Wow.
Yeah. So that session actually gave me the realization of the potential. And that's when I decided to become a member, because I realized the wide field ahead.
Wow.
Is it something you'd ever use for someone going through end of life? Or do they have to have that experience earlier in their life for ayahuasca to be beneficial?
It can be very cathartic. So I wouldn't say someone who's really frail. I wouldn't recommend it except if it was a smaller dose. But
Like microdosing ayahuasca, is that it possible?
Yeah, I honestly don't have experience with that. But I do know that one of the researchers, Charles Grobe, who participated in the Ayahuasca project, the study done in 1993, that Dennis McKenna
is
the one who
McKenna's
wrote
brother.
the protocol for this research study in Manaus. And then, so Charlie did this project, right? As a psychiatrist, I was the interpreter. He asked the questions, and I interpreted for the UDV members, the 15 UDV members who were the subjects, the experimentees. So I translated their responses and his questions. So Charlie went on to use mushrooms in studies with stage 4 cancer patients. Those are well-documented studies. So to answer your question about end of life, right?
Yeah.
He would be a good person to have on the show. He's a psychiatrist. He's working in Los Angeles, UCLA Medical Center with a new department, psychedelic medicine.
Yeah, so the direction that I'm curious about with your experience with the ayahuasca diva is the connection between states of meditation and the brahmacharya that you're talking about, and that ascension into your perception of unity consciousness, right?
Yeah. So the Buhashira is the state of expanded consciousness. And it's when we're in the unified field, when we're in a group of people, and that's why I was so appreciative of the UDV's ritual.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see you
potentiated.
You're going to read a little something about that.
I will read about it, yes.
Okay, great.
So the person, as I mentioned, who conducts the session is called the Mestre.
Okay.
So this is a friend of mine, Mestre Glaucus Brito, who said this. Spiritual teachings are spoken to the heart, addressing the heart so that they will go directly to the heart. This is an oral tradition. The teachings aren't written down. It's in the expanded state, in the Buhashira, that the teachings are given. And it's not just the words, it's an experience. It's like a transmission, and it's an experience of the truth. There are cases of numerous people who attended sessions, and they thought the sessions were being given in German or French, their native language, but it was Portuguese. But they lived the teaching, they lived the words of the message. So it's a state of consciousness that facilitates comprehension.
Like a universal language almost, huh?
Yeah, and it's delivered telepathically, it's delivered through the senses. I'm a very visual person, so that's how I see things. There are moments when there's a knowingness, a clear knowingness of the truth about something. Other people are more receptive in an auditory way.
So it has access to what they call all the clairs, right? The clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the clairsentience, etc.
So these things become real to you. They're not just abstract intellectual ideas anymore. Telepathy, the empathy, the connection
telepathy is...
The telepathy.
It's, DMT has telepathy.
That is another interesting question. How does it compare to other psychedelics?
The tea, I call it usha. That's what we call it in Brazil, in the UDV, usha, the tea. So it is made in the UDV from Banisteriopsis caapi and Psychotria viridis. Psychotria viridis is a leaf from a bush from the coffee family, and it has the telepatina. It has the property that stimulates telepathy, and we have DMT in our brains.
And one of it is the monoamino oxidase that allows it to last a longer time, because otherwise your body disassembles that molecule.
There's a whole chapter about the scientific and...
Right, so it lasts more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're the blockers, so that they...
But it's active.
Longer.
Part of the active element is dimethyltryptamine in ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of life, is it also true that dimethyltryptamine is released in the brain at the moment of death? Have you heard that?
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
So that experience has some parallels to...
Well, one of the gifts of ayahuasca is being able to prepare for death. It can prompt the shamanic death, the death of the ego.
Yeah.
But all the preparation that we can do prior to our final moment in this existence is a good idea. Emotional preparation, physical, spiritual, not to wait until the last few weeks or months.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, I assume then you're not afraid of death?
I am not. I'm not.
And has ayahuasca played a role in that, letting go of that fear?
It has, as well as my work and my understanding of those who have come back with their near-death experiences, including my former husband. I believe in the continuity of consciousness. The physical body drops away.
So what happens? Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Zen, you want to...
Well, I'm just asking if ayahuasca helps create some kind of mediumship. Like, do you have the ability to connect with, say, your previously passed friends and relations?
Well, let me share...
Your continuity of consciousness, my dear. What is your continuity of consciousness?
Well, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
But
with past lives, future lives.
I have connected with so many people I have cared for and family members who have passed.
Wow.
It's part of
their living spirit, like
their
even though they're
living
gone.
Spirit.
So this is no doubt to you. This feels like you really talk to their spirits and...
Oh, yes. I've For many, many, many years, I've received information through dreams, and it's when my rational mind is dormant, and I'm very receptive. So ayahuasca is that and more, because my rational mind isn't interfering. When I totally surrender, then it's spirit, direct connection with spirit. And so to answer your question, one of the experiences I had with ayahuasca was with my grandfather. I wrote about it in my caregiving book, but I didn't mention the word ayahuasca because then I would need to go into depth about what ayahuasca is. So
big rabbit hole.
Yeah, so I went into it more completely in this book. And after my grandfather passed, I drank ayahuasca and I connected with him. I would just open myself.
That was your intention?
That was my intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just opened myself to connect to his spirit. And what came was an enormous ear. An enormous ear. And
I'm listening.
Message was listen.
Oh, you listen.
Yes. Well, advice for life is listen. My grandfather was an exemplary human being. He was, for all practical purposes, blind in his late teens. Yet he went on to get a PhD in philosophy. He was German.
And
And
during World War II? Was he German? Was he alive then? Or did he live in America? Or
he lived in Japan during World War II.
He's German living in Japan in World War II?
He went after World War I, because he was, for all practical purposes, blind.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult to get a job as a philosopher, professor, in Germany. So he and his wife, Annelise, who I'm named after, went to Japan when they were 25.
What year was that?
Oh, gosh.
30s?
No, 20s.
20s.
Probably 22, 23.
Oh, I see. So it was before the Reich, the Third Reich then.
Right. And my grandfather refused to go Heil Hitler. He was respected by the emperor. He received awards both by the German chancellors post-Hitler and the emperor because of his contribution to education. He was a very humble man and deeply intelligent, and he listened. Every single lecture was different. He couldn't rely on notes because he didn't have the eyesight. And he co-wrote a German-Japanese dictionary with 2 colleagues. He could hear a poem once, a lengthy poem, and commit it to memory and recite it.
Wow.
So his message to me via the giant ear was listen. It was so appropriate. And what it did was help me listen with every cell of my body, with my skin, with my eyes, with all my senses. And so I applied that to every situation. The ear would show up when I was with somebody talking. It's, okay, listen. Listen more deeply. Even when I was making love with my boyfriend at the time, listen, like listening from within, really feeling. And we were talking earlier in our conversation about empathy, how ayahuasca is an incredible tool for helping us feel the pain of others. Animals, a child, people in war situations, someone who's been betrayed. There's so many causes of pain in our human existence. So
this helps you step in the other people's shoes.
Exactly. There's so many cases of living another person's pain.
Wow.
So we were talking during the break about how the world could benefit from more empathy, right? I think Jane Fonda even spoke about that. But empathy is something that I have cultivated. It arises so easily with ayahuasca that I've been able to apply that to my work.
Yeah. Empathy is, I think, is one of the higher virtues of good cinema, being able to see someone else's life and step into their shoes.
Well, and a really just good golden rule behavior on the planet. If you're going to have some kind of philosophy, having a philosophy where it's not that you're an elite who's telling others what to do without care for how they might feel about it, compared to if you're a genuine aspiring source of divinity trying to live your greatest life and understand what other people might be wanting for them, for themselves.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, did you see that AI video of Trump taking ayahuasca?
No.
Going through a transformation.
Oh, it was
Changing
hilarious.
everything.
It's
Yeah.
an AI animation of
Yeah.
enlightened Trump.
Oh, if only.
Well, there
That's
you
a
go.
prayer to hold.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, that's the great power of today's media is that whatever we can imagine, we can start
Reframe the
creating. So,
memes.
yeah, what would be good to imagine? Do you have any imagination yourself on what you'd like to see happen? A vision?
Well, in regards to our beautiful planet,
Yeah.
Sure.
that has the sensitivity. I've always been a sensitive person,
Yeah.
and I've always loved nature. But my appreciation of nature increased tenfold, 20-fold through ayahuasca, being able to perceive nature spirits and just really appreciate things. And I want to share something from one of my experiences in the Amazon, because
Sure.
it has to do with respect.
Okay.
I went with 20 Brazilians in the Amazon, northwestern Amazon, to collect seedlings. This is an area, a large area that was going to be bulldozed the next day. And we were walking in a dense forest, and we traversed an area that had been bulldozed already, just massive vegetation. And we heard a singing wren, rapuru, rapuru, and just knowing that that part of the forest was just going to be demolished the next day.
Wow.
So there was a rubber tapper with us, and in no time at all, he had 2 bushels of the chacrona, the Psychotria viridis, seedlings on his back. And I hadn't found a single one. I was so embarrassed. I felt like the inept American who just wasn't attuned to nature, right? But I am. I feel I am attuned, but I just could not see the chacrona. So I asked my friend Siglia, I said, Siglia, can you help me? And she said, just be quiet, still your mind, set your intention, and ask for permission.
Ask for permission.
Ask for permission to collect this plant, this sacred plant. So I did that, and I opened my eyes, and there was a chacrona right in front of me.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me at my feet.
Wow. Interesting.
So like the invisible realms, like we will show ourselves if you respect us.
And acknowledge their existence in a sense too, eh?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so your ability to see was dependent upon your ability to connect.
Yes. And to have that reverence and appreciation, to enter the vibratory field where I could see the plant.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
the story I touched on earlier was another experience deep in the jungle.
Oh, can you
I
put
can
a
hold it.
bookmark in it?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
All right. The next experience in the jungle. We're going to go real quick to a little Santa Cruz voice and then more.
Hi, folks. How many of you out there love to garden? Wouldn't it be nice to grow some of your own food? Or maybe a flower garden would brighten your day. All you need is the Knox Garden Box, a heavily constructed, portable, elevated garden on legs that can virtually change the way you've gardened in the past. The Knox Garden Box can be set up anywhere. Yes, you can place it right on concrete. At knoxgardenbox.com. That's KNOX, gardenbox.com.
Cannabis is one of nature's most beneficial plants, and at Treehouse Dispensary, we use it to build community. In addition to dispensing cannabis and education, Treehouse hosts First Friday events every month that feature our community's local artists, makers, and activists. If you're 21 plus, join us at 3651 Soquel Drive every First Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. to enjoy the work of local artists and musicians, find one-of-a-kind gifts, and learn more about the top cannabis products in California. See you soon.
You have a voice and want it to be heard. Hello, Michael Olson here with an invitation from Cabrillo College Extension, Community TV, and SantaCruzVoice.com to join us for an 8-part seminar on podcasting and streaming, beginning April 1st at the CTV satellite facilities in Santa Cruz. This Cabrillo College Extension class is being presented by the member hosts of Santa Cruz Voice. Learn the basics of hosting your very own digital media show, from creating the concept to the hardware and software, to formatting, programming, recording, editing, distributing, marketing, and monetizing. Be heard on your very own show. Go to podcasting at extension.cabrillo.edu. Extension.cabrillo.edu. You have a voice. Be heard.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking to Annelise Schinzinger on her new book, Ayahuasca, Opening to the Mysteries.
Back to where we were traipsing through the jungle and tuning into another story about the connection with ayahuasca and the unified field.
One other question before we dig into that. There's a question about whether or not this is your...
Robert Schinzinger, that was
Robert
my grandfather.
Schinzinger,
Yes.
Robert Carl Edmund Schinzinger, born 1988 in Yokohama, Japan. Japanese-German philosopher. Okay, that's in Wikipedia. Robert Schinzinger.
Yeah, it's in German Wikipedia. He had it translated into English.
Oh, very good.
Oh, he did, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay, well, excellent. A little bit of history here. And
Don't you just love all the internet and information that's on the information superhighway? So cool.
Yeah.
So,
this,
tell us about the story.
yeah,
You have another bit you're going to read to us, right?
I'll read after. Yeah.
After. Uh-huh.
This experience was deep in the Amazon. I went with my friend Moacir, who participated in the Ayahuasca project. He's a professor of botany, and he has a television show in Manaus about plants.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a maestri in the UDV. So he took me on several trips deep into the Amazon. I'm so grateful. I have several chapters about these places he took me.
You mean where there's just native people living, no stores? And
No stores, no. This was a rubber tapper community. And we went there to gather the plants. When Moacir connected with these indigenous people or descendants of indigenous who were, married, more vegetalistas.
they were part of the rubber tapper community?
Part of the rubber tapper community.
The rubber tappers,
yeah.
the people that tap trees to get rubber? Is that
Right.
like that was before it was synthetic?
Right.
Yeah.
But even when he was with indigenous people who lived on tribal land, government designated tribal land, they invited him to participate in a ceremony with them, ayahuasca ceremony, and then he invited them to participate in his ceremony, the União de Vegetal ritual, right? And they really liked the ritual, and they said, oh, we want to learn how to do it your way. And he said, no, you have your traditions.
Yeah.
And the fact that he honored their way, their wisdom traditions, that boosted their self-esteem and value, self-value.
Yeah, everyone is acknowledged. Did the native traditions merge well with my understanding, the later Christian influences on the ceremonies? Or was there...
Well, it was the rubber tappers who were given ayahuasca by another rubber tapper who had been given it by someone who was indigenous, right?
So I'm just getting that these ancient peoples, before it entered the Western culture, there were different human guardians working with different parts of the ecosystem. That sounds almost like Native American, like they really had a relationship directly with the plants and not just the ayahuasca experience, but there were guardians of different life forms.
In regards to ayahuasca, there are reported 360 indigenous groups across the Amazon and Orinoco basins prior to missionaries coming. So that really changed it.
Yeah, I was just wondering
And
how the
then
missionaries affected the ayahuasca ceremony, or did they?
Many fewer tribes. Originally, there were more.
Yeah.
And it's hard to guesstimate how many exactly. but there were reported 360 across the northern Incan Empire. So there are the Ashaninka, there are different tribes that are direct descendants of the Inca who are ayahuasca drinking tribes.
Were there any that were cannibals?
No.
No?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, all, yeah. I can't go into that because I don't know about that.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's an ancient tradition. It's a part of indigenous culture still, and it has continuity that goes back before it was touched by the modern world.
And what ayahuasca did was help people live in balance with the earth in their environment, right?
Was there less war in those cultures? Was there?
Oh, lots of tribal warfare.
There was still, so warfare still existed despite all of this.
And quite a lot of it.
It's not all peace and love, people on the alternate planes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm referring to the respect for nature and other living beings.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, respect opens the doors because otherwise you get the guarded experience.
Yeah. And one of the most remarkable things that I heard was about an ayahuasca teacher who moved from the jungles of Brazil to the high Incan plains, and he brought bottles of ayahuasca with him. And part of his process was to talk to the plants in whatever area he was in. And after a month or so at the new location, he introduced his friends and neighbors to all the plants and what they were good for. Like he knew.
I had a taste of that, and I'll share that.
Okay. It's like the plants spoke to him about telling them how they related to us as our species.
Yeah, I drank ayahuasca, Rami, with the Kulina, and Moacir took me to this area, this tribal land with the Kulina, and the shaman, Mau, led the session. The session was going to be the ritual, the ceremony, right? Was going to be outside on ceremonial ground. But because it was pouring rain, we drank in a hut. And we were all cuddled up. Lots of people in that little hut.
And while it rained,
I'm sure it poured outside. Yeah.
A real jungle wash.
And it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. The chanting went on for hours.
Wow.
And first it was Mau, and then a woman, and then some men, and then women, and together, and just interwoven for 3 hours. It was magical. So during those 3 hours, everything was in the Kulina language. And I saw pau d'arco, which is used in this country. It grows in the Amazon. It's a tree. And I saw it like a pipe cleaner, that it goes in the body and it cleans out everything. It stimulates, it's known to stimulate the immune system, and some people use it for...
It's such a wonderful, sweet-smelling bark when you burn it. Yeah, nice. And so they use it for sort of cleansing, huh?
Yeah. The name Pau d'Arco is like the wood with the arc, right? So I saw the connection with the spirit realm and the human body and its ability to bridge that and to penetrate the body with these properties. So that was one. And then I saw other spiritual plants. And then I heard the word jatoba. And I saw that it was actually the word in their language for jatoba. Jatoba is a medicinal plant also that's used for bronchial ailments, respiratory problems, and I was having one at that time. And so that was shown to me as being important.
And the plant, it showed it? How did it show it to you? Did it direct your attention somehow?
Well, I heard the name. It really prompted me it was Noah, and it sounded like Noah.
So it was like an audio...
Well, I heard the name, and then I saw like a forest of jatoba.
You saw it?
Simultaneous. Right? And then afterwards, I asked the shaman, what does Noah mean? And he said it was jatoba.
He said it was jatoba.
Yeah.
Did you see it as a vision?
I saw it as a vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I saw was these giant, like, tweezers.
Really?
Anyway, it
like
was...
metal tweezers?
Metal tweezers.
Giant metal tweezers.
And that was... And then he said in Portuguese, reza nenê. He was praying for a baby that was about to be born.
Wow.
And so, yeah, magic happens. Wow. Magic happens. It was one of my most memorable ceremonies with the Kulina, for sure. And they gave me a name, Haiza. I used that name.
Haiza.
Haiza.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Does it have a meaning, a translation?
It does, but I was so happy that I had been given that name that I didn't think about asking the reason. And when I asked Moasir to ask them later on one of his subsequent visits, he said, they're telling you have to come back.
Oh, I see.
That's a long journey.
Well, it sounds like you're not done yet.
If any of you folks have any questions for Annelise, 831-338-7228.
I have something I'd like to read about how Ayahuasca works.
Oh, please.
The unifying focus and intention of participants in sessions raises the vibration of the energy field. Ayahuasca leads people into their hearts, focusing attention on the core of what matters, our heart connection with the divine. With the assistance of shamadas, which are prayer songs, and carefully selected music, participants are drawn to the light by the force and divine nature of Ayahuasca. Upon hearing the opening invocations, a large number of participants forming an energy body collectively enter a field of unified consciousness. So it's this field.
That's the field that you tune into, and then things happen in the field.
Right. And so when
the space.
two or more are gathered in my name, right? It's just that it's a more potent.
Yeah.
The experience is more potent.
Sure.
But it's definitely potent with just one person directly communicating if there's that alignment and intention.
Yeah.
It makes sense that we're talking about a field of energy, a field of conscious energy, and that would naturally be an amplifier for anybody who is participating in it, because it's like you're calling it a unified field. It's sort of like your personal radio receiver gets a stronger signal because there's more energy involved in tuning into it.
What strikes me is that it's not just something you're talking about. It's you feel it, right? It's the field is real. You know when it's on, you know when it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know when you're
and you know when other
connected,
people are in it too. You can feel the connection others are having with that field.
Right. I want to share something that we're talking about Gaia, right? Talking about planet Earth.
Yeah.
This is an experience I had.
Okay, on connecting with the Gaia.
Connecting with Gaia, yes. The first time I experienced woman as an embodiment of Gaia was on the wedding day of friends celebrated in a UDV session in Sao Paulo. The purity of the young bride served as a portal of consciousness to the state of the planet prior to human disregard. In the Buhashira, I experienced the awesome, pristine, virginal beauty that suffused Gaia's paradise of forest, rivers, and waterfalls before the heavy-handedness of humans upset the balance. I was invited into this sacred place, accessed through the inner sanctum of woman, and was shown that it is a portal to Gaia's womb, a magnificent chamber of creation. During that session, I realized an old truth, that the human body is the temple of our consciousness and physical existence, and another truth, that as guardian of the womb, woman is guardian of this treasure, this consciousness and potential for procreation. I was shown how women are given the responsibility of embodying and taking care of their sacred garden, and how it is a blessing to be invited to experience the inner wisdom of the divine feminine in us all. The second time I experienced my body self as Gaia was excruciating, but no less meaningful than the first. In the Buhashira, the sacred energy of Gaia was flowing through my body. Merging with the energy and intelligence of Gaia enabled me to experience her beauty and wonder, and also the destruction of those gifts. I was thrashed by bulldozers, raping my body, leaving me denuded, barren, and scarred. Acres of deep tread marks crisscrossed my chest. As Gaia embodied, I was in agony from this abuse and the damage inflicted on our planet. I realized on a visceral level that destruction of the living earth is being done to women worldwide every second of every day. And this is men and children also, of course.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Talking about stepping in other shoes, you're stepping into the pain of species
of our planet.
of the planet.
Our planet, the living
feeling
being.
pain. So the planet feels pain, not just us.
Yeah.
The spirit of ayahuasca, do you think it has a relationship with the Gaia as a whole? Do you think the spirits talk to each other? That or are they all the same? They all recognize they're part of the one?
I feel they're all part of the one, all emanations.
Oh.
And ayahuasca seems very well suited for humans, for our consciousness, right?
Yeah, do you think the other species would have other things? Well, what about the planet itself? Do you think the Earth is in touch with other Type M planets in the galaxy? I mean, do you think that the life goes on a large scale, a huge scale?
Oh, I definitely believe that.
Well, then they're in touch with each other, then maybe they can exchange life forms with each other.
Well, it's interesting that in one of the sessions with Moasir, deep in the jungle, there were 2 Kashinawa, indigenous people with us who had come. This was many experiences in the jungle that are just amazing. And in this particular session, 3 of us saw green lights, 2 with our eyes closed and 1 with eyes open. So there are a lot of visitations. There are a lot of
other intelligences?
Other intelligences seen in the Amazon by indigenous people who don't know about, who wouldn't conjure this kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
they normally don't not think about galaxies or whatever.
Well, and from a humble point of view, they probably know a lot more than many of us. They're probably in more direct contact.
Different context for understanding it, I guess.
Yeah, but there are many sightings.
Yeah.
And so a friend and his 8-year-old daughter saw a mothership right outside of a session, a UDV session.
Wow.
And it was huge. It was in the sky. And it obviously noticed that they were seeing it because it hovered according to their connection, their viewing. And I've had some experiences myself. One was with ayahuasca when I was grieving the death of my cat, the passage of my cat, and a spaceship showed up, and there was a beautiful blue color that was being transmitted to me. When I asked a friend afterwards, and she said blue is the color of letting go. It's like a royal blue.
Oh, beautiful. I have a question for you that's kind of out of left field, I think, but I once worked with an author whose name was Diego Saez-Gil, and he's very involved in creating a company called Pachama, like Pachama, that's goal is to help save the earth by digitizing a map of all the trees in the Amazon so that they can use that for creating a financial system that will help support the rainforest. And he described in his book a sensation of his journey with ayahuasca where he saw the light of all of the trees, but it was as if it was in like a virtual world. And I just wonder if you've ever thought of or experienced anything that is about the Gaia spirit relating to technology and the new human that is so technologically oriented.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for someone who's very involved in the tech world I'm shifting things, right, to experience ayahuasca and to see how they can apply the wisdom they receive.
See how it might connect. It seems like ayahuasca is connected with many different cultures. Why not the tech one too?
I mean, he was describing his download from his encounter with ayahuasca, and I think it was maybe giving him a mirror of his consciousness to reflect on or something.
Should anyone avoid ayahuasca?
Should anyone avoid ayahuasca? Well, people who are on antidepressants, there's some, I'll just speak from my experience with the Unión de Vegetal. There's an initial interview to see what the person's habits are, what they're like, because certain chemicals conflict with...
The divas don't get along.
Yeah, know your chemistry a little bit.
Know your chemistry, yeah.
Yeah, I think Lorenzo Haggerty said that once he started experiencing ayahuasca, the ayahuasca diva said that she would not tolerate his addiction to marijuana. Like, he really had to let go of one or the other.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca is the great teacher.
Yeah. And speaking of chemist, You had an early experiences with Terence McKenna and his brother Dennis in the 70s, and you were the Portuguese translator. Is that true?
For Dennis. Yeah,
Dennis,
I knew Terence,
Uh-huh.
but I worked with Dennis on the Ayahuasca project. I was an interpreter for that project. So this was Dennis's idea. He obtained the funding. He established the protocol.
This was the early 90s then.
93 was
Okay.
when it was done.
That's about when Son and I met in 92. Yeah.
Those
Yeah, so
early
93,
years,
so-
the early part of this lifetime honeymoon.
Yeah, Terence was pretty famous back then, and his
Yeah, we
brother-
were invited to the Mondo magazine interview with Terence McKenna because Al was
Out in
working
Oxford,
with Mondo at the
yeah.
time, and Wes Thomas had lined up the interview. and-
Occidental. We were up in Occidental.
Yeah, we went to.
That's
his
where they
home.
lived.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We have we have a 2-hour interview with them online, completely unedited on YouTube right now. If you want to hear Terence and
Fantastic.
their form.
Yeah. I have become a big fan of Dennis.
And he was more the
And
scientist, right? He was.
He's a humble person. He's wise. He's kind. He's thoughtful. Terence definitely had the gift of gab.
Yeah.
Right? He was a storyteller,
storyteller,
a weaver, amazing person. And Dennis is a scientist. And he's been very active in conservation work. He established the
doesn't he have an
academy.
incredible online dictionary of herbs and plants, right?
Yeah, he has been at the forefront of many important projects. The Academy, the McKenna Academy of Natural Philosophy. Oh, he's done so much work.
Yeah.
Huge body of
Dennis.
work. If you go to the website, you can see all the things that he's involved in.
Dennis, yeah. Okay, we'll
Yes.
put a link to that. Any misconceptions about ayahuasca that need to be cleared up?
If they express their views to me and I find that they're inaccurate, I'll clarify them.
Okay.
But it hasn't been.
No popular misconceptions as far as you know.
Well, I find it very interesting that starting maybe 15, 20 years ago, a journalist from the New York Times, for example, would drink ayahuasca once and write about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, ayahuasca has been a life path.
Not a once in a lifetime thing, but
No, it's been a spiritual journey. I really embraced it as a way of living.
yeah.
I'm not a member anymore. I left. But I continue to respect the tradition, even though it has become more authoritarian, you could say. It's changed with the times. I'm grateful to have been a member during the founding days in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, these early days. Yeah.
The early days.
It's very exciting.
Very
Listen, we've
grassroots.
got about a minute.
Yeah,
Let's
Bobby,
give
do you have any
everybody,
questions?
Well, and also don't forget to tell people where to look for the book
Yes, we'll
and
do
how
that
to
too.
spell ayahuasca. Seconds till we're done.
Ayahuasca, Opening to the Mysteries, is available online on Amazon. For locals, it's at the bookshop Santa Cruz.
And that's AYAHUASCA, Ayahuasca, Opening to the Mysteries by Annelise Schinzinger. Okay, Bobby, you got a minute.
I was just fascinated by the whole show.
Glad to hear it. The people to contact you at all directly, do you have an email or anything you want to share?
Schinzinger@gmail.com.
ASCHINZINGER at
gmail.com.
All right. Well, very good. So thank you so much for being on the
Oh,
show.
my website. I want to give a plug for my beautiful website that Sun
Yeah, okay, we're about to sign off. But
created.
yeah, okay.
Ayahuascaopening.com.
Ayahuascaopening.com. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening, everyone.
Have
Appreciate
a great
it.
future now. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
See you next time.